Welcome to Statistics for Survey Session 1 Basics Segment 2 Terms about Data. The objective for this segment is to understand some of terms that are related to data in general, which we will be seeing popping up every now and again in other segments and other sessions. The terms we will be covering are cases, sometimes known as units, variables, values, coding, codebook, and score. When you're collecting data about something or someone. This is how I would define cases. Cases are who or what you're collecting data about. If you're doing a survey, then your respondents are your cases. You can even be more specific. If you, for example, do a survey among students, the students are your cases. If, however, you would be collecting, for example, the daily average temperature, then each day will be a case. So cases aren't necessarily always respondents. Of course, we will be focusing on statistics for surveys, so in most examples, respondents are the cases. I just wanted to emphasize that the term cases is more generic than respondents. Another example is when if you would collect the revenue for companies, so for Nike, Adidas, Coca-Cola, etc., then each company will be a case. Cases are also sometimes known as units or observations. Now, if you look at the following 4 questions, which of these do you think is kind of pointless to ask actually on a survey? So will that be the first one, what is your gender? Or the second one, does your car drive on wheels? Or what is your age? Or the last one, what do you think of this statistics course? Pause the video if you want, just to give you some time to think about it. But hopefully you then come to the conclusion that the second question, does your car drive on wheels, is kind of pointless because the day this video is made, almost all cars simply have wheels and we all drive on wheels. And only in some laboratories people are trying to come up with some flying cars, but on the streets we see all the time cars driving on wheels. So it's not something to be asked because we actually know that everybody's gonna tick yes. Now, variables are actually defined as the things we would like to know from each case because they can vary per case. Perhaps they don't, that's then perhaps a surprising result. Perhaps everybody thinks this statistics course is bad, or perhaps everybody thinks it's nice, but it's not so unlikely that this could vary actually. And that's why we call these variables. So in this case, although there are 4 variables, the gender, drive your cars on wheels, your age, and what you think of this statistics course. The second one, does your car drive on wheels, is a pointless variable and should actually be avoided in your survey. Now, each variable can in itself vary therefore, and the possible variations are known as the values for that variable. So here's an example, 4 questions. What is your gender? What is your age? What is your name? And what do you think of statistics? Now for the first variable, gender, there are 2 options, so 2 values, male and female. For the second one, what is your age? That's going to be anything above 0. And for your name, it should be the full list of all possible names. For the last one, it's limited again. It's just the 4 options people could choose from, ranging from very boring to very interesting. Now, rather than typing in every time the full value of the value, so the label, often a code is assigned to it. Now we prefer actually numeric codes because we're doing statistics, and in the end it does rely a bit on mathematics, and that deals a lot easier with numbers than it does with text. And we only need to assign codes if there's a limited number of options. So returning to the same examples on the previous slide, for the first variable, the gender, male and female, could be, for example, assigned 0 is male and 1 is female. If there are only two options, it's highly recommended to assign one of them to be 0 and the other one to be 1. For the second question and the third one, your age and your name, the number of possible options are so high, or they're simply unlimited. We do not assign any specific values or codes to them. So we leave those blank. For the last one, very boring, boring, interesting, and very interesting, we can assign numbers to them, again, 1 being very boring till 4 being very interesting. I could also have done this the other way around. 4 is being very boring and 1 then being very interesting. Or I could have started with 0. That doesn't really matter much, as long as what is interesting is to keep the order in these. Once you've coded all your variables, you can actually create something known as a codebook. A codebook is an overview of how all the variables and values are actually coded of a survey. So in our example survey, the codebook might look something like this. Note that each of the questions in itself get a unique name. This is to keep things a little bit shorter. The label can either be the full question or somewhat of a description of the question. So instead of saying at opinion that the label is what do you think of statistics, it could also mention a description of the question, something like respondents thought of statistics. At the values, you notice that it's left empty for the name because there's no unique list of values for it. And for the others, there's an indication of how everything got coded. The last term I'd like to discuss is scores. A score is the value or the assigned code for a single case on a single variable. So returning to our original example, what is your gender, your age, your name, and what do you think of statistics? We created the following codebook from this. And now if I would fill this out myself, my scores would be a 0 for gender because I'm a male, at age 37 because currently I'm 37 years old. My name is Peter Sticker and my opinion is 4 because I'm very interested in statistics.